Welcome back, everybody, to episode 2 of. Welcome back. Episode 2. If you watched to the end of the last episode, you'd know that the project I'm going to start on next is this kelp cactus farm. And the idea with that was to make an auto kelp farm that would supply fuel to a cactus farm. And then I would smelt the cactus for XP. But I realized after saying that idea out loud that I could also get XP from the kelp. So it doesn't really make sense to have two separate buildings. And I've been kind of staring at this area for a while. And I still want to do the kelp farm down in this spot. Mainly because I started clearing it out. And I want to really start focusing on building back behind this mountain and in this valley back over here. Okay. This is awesome. Anyway, I wanted to start building stuff back in here eventually. So I figured I might as well start with the farms being around this area. For now, I'm just going to work on the kelp farm itself and get some sort of collection system going on. Because I would want to move the items over here somewhere. And eventually have either both the kelp and the cactus in one building, or I could still do separate buildings, but it would be nice to have both furnaces in the same building. Yeah, I haven't decided yet. I mean, it still makes sense to put it over there too, I'm thinking. Anyways, what I'm going to start on now is getting the basic idea set up for this kelp farm. And it's just going to be flying machines down at the bottom there that go back and forth. Probably 2 or 3 flying machines. Might even send them that way. Not sure yet. I gotta clear out some more land, get some supplies, and I'll be back with an update. So I decided it'd probably be a good idea to have a conduit here. Make things a little bit easier. But as for the plan, I also decided to do 3 flying machines. Each one is going to be 20 blocks wide. And I decided to go north and south. I figured it'd be easier than going east and west here. But yeah, I ended up having to go back to spawn to my cartographer to get the ocean temple map. Went there, got these prismarine. And then I spent about 2 hours trying to get the nautilus shells to build the conduit. I don't know how many drowns I killed. Ended up with around 20 ingots of copper. So, yeah, that's how many drowns I had to kill to get 8 nautilus. I realized very quickly that killing ones without the nautilus in their hand doesn't give you one at all, ever. I figured I needed to kill them anyway to try and get more to spawn. But yeah, that was a little bit of a diversion, but this conduit's going to help quite a bit. I also realized that with the new update that these nautilus are going to spawn. I don't think it'll be an issue, or they might not even be able to spawn if kelp's on the ground. Hopefully that's the case. But yeah, so this is going to be 60 wide, and then I'm going to run it down 180. So it'll be 60 by 180, which this conduit is at the halfway mark. So yeah, we got to go another 60 blocks that way, which now that I'm thinking about it, I might not do. Might go like another 40 or something. But we'll see here. If I'm doing 180, I realize that halfway is 90, not 60. So, yeah, I'm supposed to go another 90 blocks that way. And, yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm just going to go around this corner here and then turn back that way. That'll be good enough. Because, I mean, it already is very big. Yeah, we'll see how this corner works. Well, we're getting there. This conduit was definitely worth the 2 hours it took to get it. I mean, it's just so nice. I mean, I got a pretty good melon on, or melon cover, but just having the night vision is so nice to be able to see things. But yeah, I got this whole area flattened out. It ended up being 60 by 130 is where the kelp's gonna be. Got the flying machines in, and I've tested all 3 of them. They go down. I have to manually bring them back. But the plan is to make like a little redstone building here. And I'm thinking, after I get all the kelp in, I'm gonna run this thing on a clock and when the clock activates it, it'll go down, come back, and then start the clock again, instead of just a super long clock that takes into account the time it'll take for the thing to get back. It'll make more sense when I make it. The next plan is to work on the collection system up top, and I have a couple ideas for it. Not sure which one will work yet. I also did some rough math on this. So if there's 60 by 130, that'd be 7,800. 7,800 kelp plants. Now, I estimated that each kelp plant will grow about 10 blocks high. Most of them, say half of them only grow 7, half of them grow 15. So that's why I estimated 10. But if you assume that and take that 7,800 times 10 is how many kelp you'll get each time it harvests. 5 by 9 is 8,600 kelp blocks, which is about 2.5 double chests full of kelp blocks. I ended up running out of slimes and had to go to the trial chamber. But then I realized I could use the oozing potions and things got a little out of control. Alright, so here's the plan. Originally, when I said I had a couple ideas for a collection system, my first idea was to use alleys in like a grid pattern, and then all the alleys would just throw their items in hoppers, and then they would have one central collection point. That doesn't work for a couple reasons. I tried alleys and I couldn't get them to work. I'm not exactly sure why they won't work, but what ends up happening is as the items come to the top, the alleys just keep going down and down and down, and they all end up at the end, which isn't necessarily a problem because then when the machine comes back, they'll follow it back. But for some reason, if I had like a group of 20 out here and I stand up there, between 4 and 5 consistently would get lost, lose the music, and end up just coming back to me. So I tried adding more music spread out, and I ended up with 2 columns down the farm and 8 rows. So there ended up being 16 music stations, but it still wasn't enough to keep them close enough to the music, and they kept finding their way back. They kept getting lost and finding their way back to me. Now, I could have added more, but then it was already at 16 stations. Each station had a whole bunch of hoppers, and I still didn't even connect all the hoppers together yet at one central spot, and it ended up just being unrealistic. So, I went with plan B here, which is just the same flying machines on the surface. And I was doing some testing here. I'm sure someone is screaming at their screen right now for how overcomplicated this return is. But this is the simplest thing I could come up with. Basically, I want the top to always return because it does miss some when it first comes down pushing all the items. And I want it to pick up any extras on the way back. So I have this double hopper system on both ends. And these bottom ones are, sometimes the items will get shot down here. I need to fill this up with leaves actually, I think. But sometimes the items will get shot down and get stuck underneath the slimes, so this is just here to help get some extra ones. The next step is to put this on a clock, and I have a location over here which works pretty good. I won't have to do a whole bunch of tunneling and everything. Now this is just going to be a redstone string to the trapdoors to activate the bottom machine. Now the way I'm going to do this is it's going to run on a hopper clock. I'm assuming I'm just going to fill it completely full of items. Every time the state of the hopper clock changes, I want the bottom machine to go. So when the clock changes, the machine will come and it'll just sit here until it changes again and it'll go back. But the top, I want it to wait until the bottom gets to the opposite side, then come and go back. And then do the reverse. When the machine goes to that side, I want the top flying machine to wait until it gets there, then go and come back. It'll probably make a little more sense when I do the redstone down here. I tested it out a little bit in creative just because it's a lot easier to deal with than trying to do it in survival in my opinion. But the next update here will be it actually working. I'll just have to fill in the kelp. Right now I just have 2 double chests, which is definitely not going to be enough. And I'm thinking if I take these hoppers and spread them out into like 4 droppers, it should speed this up quite a bit. That's what I'm hoping anyway. But anyway, we'll be back when I get the clock set up. Alright, if my last explanation didn't make any sense, hopefully this will clear things up. Every time this clock changes state, the bottom machine will go to the opposite end. Then when the clock changes state again, the machine will come back. And it's doing that from this observer. Basically what I'm doing is I'm powering trapdoors on both sides at the same time. Because obviously the machine isn't down there. So if I power the trapdoors, nothing will happen. So I just do them both at the same time because there's only one machine. Then at each end, I'm observing where the machine is. So when it leaves here, it'll shut this bulb off. And when it arrives down there, it'll shut that bulb off, turning this signal off, which tells the top machine to leave. And the top machine will just automatically come back with how I had that set up over there. And then it'll just repeat every time. No matter where the bottom is, the top will always go down and back. But it'll wait until the bottom gets to the opposite end. So, yeah, it's not too much redstone. I mean, it's just a couple T flip-flops basically and a clock. That's all it is. And here's the redstone at the other side. It's doing the same thing, observing to see if the bottom machine is here. And then this is just the power to activate the farm. And this will get activated every single time the clock changes state. But if the machine's not here, it's not going to matter anyway. So that's why I'm doing them both at the same time. It's just quite a bit simpler to do it that way. But yeah, now I get to place all the kelp in this farm. Hopefully that doesn't take too long. Well, I went through a double chest full of kelp and only got halfway. So that's going to take a while. Well, I had to run it to get more kelp. Oh, that looks kind of cool. And it's working, but I did find a major issue with this here. When the machine leaves, it updates the observer, but then when the water flows back into the place that the block was, it also updates the observer. So I'm gonna have to think about that for a little bit. It's not gonna affect it when the machine approaches it because it'll move the water out of the way at the same time it updates it. So it's just when it leaves I have to do something different. But yeah, this top one should take off here, or no, it won't because of that. The same thing happened down there. Alright, things were a little more broken than I originally thought. This was a simple solution. I just needed to observe the flow of water, not the block. So I just basically moved this back 1 block. Same thing down there. Yeah, and the farm is running. Yep, there we go. Kicked off the top will come back. Now, I'm a little confused. Top will come back. Yep, now when this leaves, I was confused there for a second because this should have been powered. But back there I had removed a redstone. Forgot to put it back. But anyway, when this leaves now it'll shut this off. But this torch will still stay off because that bulb back there is still on. Then when the machine gets down there, it'll also shut that bulb off. This will be dead, that'll be dead. This will flip, send the top machine. And then the process will repeat in reverse when the machine comes back. Alright, it's the next day. This thing has some issues, to say the least. I ended up adding some bubble columns to try and help items get up to the top at the end. I also moved these leaves so items weren't being shot underneath the hoppers. This helps, but it's not perfect. And then also I was having issues with these observers, so I just had to move them both on both sides. The farm is working. The biggest issue now, and surprise, surprise, is the collection system. It is just way too many items. And since I don't have leaves running down the side, a lot of items get shot around the edges. And now, with these bubble columns, a lot of items getting shot over the top. So I'm going to do the easy thing and ignore all these issues and just start working on the furnace super smelter instead. And also, it's too many items and I only got like a third of the farm full of kelp. So when I get the thing completely full, it's going to be real interesting. Yeah, just this little harvest. I did have to pick up about a chest full of kelp that got showered over the top, and it's still flowing in here. And there's double chests at the end that are full too. Something else I'm realizing is I don't think I can use this clock. Even full of items, it just goes too quick. And I think I have to either get a clock that takes a long time to switch states, or just manually operate this farm every once in a while. It does take quite a while for all the kelp to grow, but like at this state, I mean, it would have ran twice already. So I started clearing an area out to put that factory in. I'm going to have both these collection points meet in the middle, and then one big pipe will go into the factory. Pretty certain at this point I'm going to make the cactus farm inside of it, and then just have the smelting of the kelp and the cactus all happen within the same building. I'm going to end up making all the collection systems, the cactus farm, and the smelting system before I actually make the building. I have an idea for what I'm going to build. It is going to be pretty big, and then I'll just have to do some terraforming on the edges to make everything match up. We're a ways off from the building yet, but once I get this cleared out, I'll start working on the collection system and then make a location for the cactus farm. Alright, I got this area leveled out, and I did some estimations on how many kelp are going to come from the farm at a time, and these are rough estimates. I came up with a minecart hopper system I think will work pretty good with 104 furnaces. That's how many are here right now. Each hopper minecart is going to carry 105 items, but it'll go down and back. Alright, so here's how this is going to work. All the items from both ends of the farm will collect somewhere here in some sort of bubble column. They'll come up, they'll come into this array of chests. There'll be more here, I have to add some more. All the items from the farm eventually will get filtered down into these two chests, where I'll have 2 hopper minecarts running down these 52 furnaces on each side. So they'll go down and back and drop off 2 items. So that'll be 104 in each hopper minecart. And that's why I have these crafters here, just comparing the signal. Because when the hopper minecart gets to 104 items, it'll open this gate and let it out, let it run down and back, and it'll fill up again. And it'll just do that continuously. So part of the reason I'm doing 52 and not like twice that many is, first of all, the length of this. I can't go much farther than that without going deep into that hill. The other thing is, I could double this, and it'd be super simple with this crafter to get twice as many items in here. But then I'm going to have to deal with twice as much fuel to put back in these furnaces. I think this is going to be easier to deal with, but down the road, if these 2 arrays isn't enough to deal with this, I can easily double it. I'll leave space for that too. Another thing I realized about this farm is I don't think I can run it on a clock at all. I think what I'm going to do is every time I come to use the cactus XP farm, I'm just going to activate this. And then by the time I come back and have to use the farm again, this will probably be pretty grown up or ready to harvest, and I'll just do it again. I think that's going to be the simplest thing, because yeah, running it on timer, I think this is going to provide, I think just running it every once in a while will provide enough fuel for continuous cactus smelting. We'll have to see once I get farther along with this setup here. Alright, things are happening. So I got these ends of the farm connected together. They drop all their items out. Water streams down there. Both water streams connect together to this central water elevator. Then here's the collection system. Now this should be enough to store it with the hoppers and all the chests. It should be enough to store all the items. If not, they'll just sit up here and quickly get shuffled around, hopefully. Can always make this bigger, is the thing. Yeah, I got all the rails in. Now, the next step before I can turn it on is to figure out the field system. Now, I just threw this together just to test some things. But I need to craft the kelp and the kelp blocks. And then I need to filter off a certain amount, send back into the system. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do that yet, but we'll figure it out. Alright, it took a little bit of thinking, but I believe I got a solution for it here. So, back here, this is going to craft the dried kelp and the kelp blocks. Basically, all the dried kelp, once it comes through the bottom of the furnaces, it'll all meet up at this point, and it'll fill this crafter. Now, the way I have this crafter activating is if this hopper has any items in it, try and craft. So you can imagine that if I have thousands of kelp, dried kelp flowing through here, it'll eventually back up right here, and crafter will become full of items. Like there'll be a stack in each slot. That'll put this observer clock going and power both of these, and it'll shoot them all out really quickly. It's basically doing the exact same thing on the other side. Okay, now to resupply fuel, I'm essentially doing the same thing I'm doing over there when I'm unloading the kelp, or when I'm loading the farm, the furnaces with the kelp. But here, I'm basically letting the hopper minecart go if there's more than 52 kelp blocks in there, or more than 104 kelp blocks in there. Which usually, when I was testing it, it'll leave if there's like 120. 120 going through here, it'll drop one off in each hopper. So each furnace will get one dried kelp block. And if it has 128 or 120 and there's 104 furnaces, that means 16 will be in it when it comes to here. And if the hopper minecart has any items in it after it's gone through the whole farm, it'll unload all the excess into here. Basically, it's only ever going to drop one off, and then all the remaining kelp blocks come here. So yeah, I think I'm ready to test it. Fingers crossed it's not too big of a mess. Oh, before I test it though, I need to load it with fuel. And I'll demonstrate how this works. I'll drop 120 coal off, and 16 should be in here when I'm done. Alright, should be ready to test this. Now I'll empty it. I'll put this 120 in here. It'll leave, and it should bring 16 back to here. I'm a little worried it won't be fast enough and it might drop 2 off in some, but we'll see here. Yeah, I had to connect it back there. It took a little bit, but wasn't too bad. Well, I can already tell what happened here. It's not delayed enough, it's just hitting it too quick. These unloaders always confuse me a little bit. Basically, I had a hopper below this one, and it was pulling out faster than the redstone could react. So I just slowed it down by moving the hoppers over. There's probably a better way than that, but yeah. But I checked all the furnaces, everything's looking good. All of them have 1 coal in it, except these ones at the end, but that should be fixed. So now I'm going to dump a bunch of kelp in, and hopefully everything else works. Stand by. Alright, here we go. I got these shulkers full of kelp. I'm gonna dump 1 in each. So far, so good. Did this guy make it all the way to the end? Yep, they all made it through. Sure seems to be working. Let's go down here and check this out. Yeah, I'll call that a success. Yeah, this is pretty much the exact same redstone as what's over there. I just adjusted this slightly because those ones are just doing 52 each. This one's doing a whole 104. So, it's looking good. Have you ever done something in Minecraft that you knew probably wouldn't work, but you ignored it and built the whole farm around it, and then realized that that little thing you ignored became a big problem? So that's basically this farm here. Now, what's going on. This smelter works great. It's fast. I could shave off a couple furnaces at the end because you'll see here he's leaving. He's going to put an item in. This will finish smelting right before it comes back to drop the second item off. It's done. Now we're waiting. That little time it's waiting there is wasting fuel. So if you just took like 2 off the end, it would fix that problem. But the biggest issue is getting items here. Right now, I'm basically just funneling all the items in 2 hopper lines to 2 droppers. So that's 4 droppers total. But that is not going to be fast enough. These hopper minecarts will take the items out quicker than they can replenish in here. Now, you can watch this, for example. The hopper minecart is waiting for the items now. They're in here. They're going in at 1 speed. All this time that it's sitting here is just wasting fuel. Now, something I tried over here is adding more hopper lines. So you can double the speed. But this doesn't solve the problem either, because the input is still bottlenecked with the droppers. And the hopper minecart will pull out of this chest faster than this chest will get replenished. So we got kind of a conundrum here as I break the farm. But yeah, that's gonna have to do it for this episode. If you enjoyed this painful process at all, or you're curious how I fix this, or you're curious how I do the cactus part of this, keep an eye out for episode 3. Thanks for watching.